I'm like, okay, how do you travel light to begin with? And coming from a thru hiker's perspective, hiking light is what we do. This is a genuine hiker's toothbrush. There's a company that makes these. They got the idea because a lot of hikers, not me, were like, yeah, we want to shave some weight off our pack, so they were literally cutting the handles of their toothbrush in half. And if you think it's crazy, think about it. You're hiking with a pack for 12, 14, 16 hours a day. And it seems like after about the first 10 hours, your pack gets 2 pounds heavier for every mile you hike. So you want to keep your pack as light as possible. Just an idea, another example of how light modern day hikers will hike, keep their packs. Most hikers, and this includes the ladies, they will wear the exact same clothes, same pants, same shirt, same shoes, 5-6 days at a time. And they might only have 2 pairs of underwear that they're switching day in, day out, ditto for socks, because you got to keep your pack as light as possible. So that inspired me to think, okay, how can you keep your camera as light as possible? Because, sometimes, hey, I went down to Ohio 2 weekends ago, had the car to myself, so yeah, if I wanted to make my backpack as big as my suitcase, I could do that. But if you're flying in one of these small commercial airplanes where they always seem to want to cram this much people into this much space, you might need to make some choices as to what you carry with you. And that's where I learned a lot from my couple years of hiking, because you think you can fit everything into a 60-liter backpack, and then you put your sleeping bag and your tent, your food, blah, 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 and you realize, crap, I still got 3 other things I got to fit in there. So you learn to be efficient with your packing. And so how does that apply to photography? Well, first thing I learned is, when you're going on a trip and you're trying to decide what you're going to take with you, photographically speaking, first thing you should do is ask yourself, okay, what is the purpose of this trip? Are you going on a photo safari, where the purpose is taking photographs? Then, by all means, feel free to take everything but the darkroom sink if you have the room. On the other hand, if you're just going on a trip, you're going to visit family and friends, you're not going to be taking a lot of photos, then you might want to travel small and light. It all depends. And that'll influence what sort of camera you take with you. I'm willing to bet, is there anybody here who does not have a camera with interchangeable lenses? Didn't think so. We're all serious photographers, right? That was a joke, you can laugh.
I got a cell phone.
and I'm willing to bet most of us, if not all of us, have smartphones. And the thing of it is, if you're traveling small and you're traveling light, modern day smartphones work great. I mean, if you do a search on YouTube for videos of people who've hiked the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, I guarantee you 80 to 90% of the videos that you see of hikers, they were probably shot with a smartphone. Almost all, 80, 85% will be shot with smartphones because they have gotten that good. One other possible thing that you might want to consider getting, yes, how can you tell I'm a salesman? I'm talking. You might want to consider getting a premium compact camera. This happens to be the Sony RX100 Mark VI. This guy lived on the left shoulder strap of my backpack for like about 5 months in 22. We covered 1,500 miles together. Held up just great. And the thing I like about it is, it's got a slightly bigger sensor than most compact cameras, and it's got a lens that's equivalent to a 28 to 200 zoom lens. So I got good image quality, good zoom, good range, and it held up very nicely. So,
What was the name? Sony?
RX100 Mark VI. Now the thing about premium compacts, they come with a premium price tag. This guy was about $1,100. Yeah, that's the one thing. The compact camera market has been decimated by the smartphones. you are not going to find too many compact cameras for $100, $200. If you do, they're like the little birdie at Kmart, cheap, 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 cheap. Which is a pity, because Fuji in particular, Fuji and Olympus used to make some really good compact cameras that sold for about $200, maybe $250. That were, I used to say they were almost teenager proof. You know, they could withstand a 5-foot drop onto a concrete floor. They could handle being dropped in 30 feet of water. They could handle a drop on a rock. They could handle freezing temperatures. Really nice cameras, but yeah, smartphones did away with those. So, you know, when you're planning your trip, you know, think about what photos you're going to be taking, how often you're going to be taking photos. Pick the right camera for the job. And if you are going to be, you decide you are going to go with a camera with interchangeable lenses, I would recommend, especially if you're trying to travel small and light, go with a long range zoom. This is the Tamron 18-300, which, yeah, I really like. You know, it's image stabilized. I've gotten a lot of good photographs with this thing. There was an interesting article, there was a link to it on DP Review either yesterday or the day before. Somebody was making the argument that unless you absolutely need the razor shallow depth of field of an f1.0 lens, you don't need a prime lens. Zoom lenses have gotten that good. And the other thing that's come into play recently is camera design, because let's be honest, there is no way you are going to make an absolutely perfect lens. You know, like everything else in photography, lenses are a compromise. If you want it optically perfect, it's either not going to have a zoom, or it's going to be heavy, or it's going to be expensive. So what they've started to do is they've started to say, okay, we know that this lens is going to have a certain amount of this type of distortion at this focal length, and then it's going to have a different type of distortion at another focal length. Well, we will kind of build a little bit of Photoshop into the camera that will automatically correct for all those imperfections in the lens, so you don't have to.
And that's built right in the lens.
No, it's actually built into a lot of cameras.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of your newer cameras have lens correction built right in. Now, is it going to work with every lens? No, but you know, if you pair, you know, your latest generation Sony, Canon, Nikon camera with latest generation lenses made by those companies, yeah, that lens correction, you know, if you dig far enough, you will find it built into the camera. So you don't have to worry about, you know, a little bit of distortion going this way or this way on your photos. So yeah, zoom lenses are where it's at, because, you know, you got everything from a wide angle to a telephoto. I can do everything from landscapes, macro, wildlife, sports. That's my go-to lens. I mean, I have a 70-350 that's like, Roy doesn't love me anymore because I haven't been taken out of the camera bag in 3 years. Because I'm using that. So my two lenses that I use the most, my other zoom lens, 10-18. So if I need wide, I can do that. If you remember the shot of Eagle Rock that was at the last display, that's my ultra wide lens to go to. This is my favorite camera bag, even though you will not find it sold as a camera bag. It's sold as what they call an everyday carry bag. You cannot find a camera bag made like this. And this is like $55 to you know, buy it and modify it, because I had, you know, a little bit of Velcro dividers in there. So a couple other things that you have to keep in mind from a hiker's perspective. You know, you're out in the wilderness for 5 days at a time. Last time I checked, most saguaro cacti do not come with electrical plugs. So you're gonna need to find a way to recharge your gear. And that is where one of these come in. This is an external battery pack. One free piece of advice. you will see advertising on Amazon and sometimes on Facebook saying, you know, this battery will store like 36,000 or 50,000 milliamps of battery life. Do not buy those. They are junk. I've tried 2 of them. Okay? The brand that most thru hikers use is called Anker, Anker. I've had this beast going in my 6th year now. And it served me day in, day out for 5 months on the Pacific Crest Trail in 22, 2 months last year, a month in 23. Yeah, solid, reliable. The other brand that a lot of hikers use is called Nitecore, Nitecore. Now, where you folks might find them useful is if you're finding a spot and you're wanting to do one of those really long star trails, chances are you leave the shutter open on your camera long enough, you know, for that 4-hour exposure, your battery might go dead. Extra juice. Okay. And these, a good one, this one has 2 plugs, one for USB-A, one for USB-C. And then the other problem, you get into town, you know, most thru hikers, it's like everything is always inconveniently located from where we are. You know, we're here, the grocery store is a 1.5 miles that way, then it's a 1.5 miles that way to get to the gear store to buy the new shoes, then it's an hour, you know, a mile over there to get to laundry, then a mile there for lunch. So you want to get everything done as much as possible, and the one thing you always never have enough of are power plugs. Never ever do you have enough power plugs. And so when you're going to charge your camera, this nifty little guy, this will charge 2 batteries at once. Plugs into the USB port on, you know, in your car, for example. This one, I could totally shoot a 1.5 batteries at Meyer Gardens, and in the time it took me to drive from Meyer Gardens to I-94, one of them was fully charged, the other was at 75%.
Oh, wow.
And I see I didn't bring the one thing I said I was going to bring.
Is there a special brand or?
So this is the ProMaster brand.
Yeah.
And you know, you get the one that works with whatever type of battery you happen to use. The other thing that ProMaster has done, I don't have one, but I know a few people who do and they swear by them, is ProMaster makes several different batteries that actually have a USB-C port built right into the battery, so you don't need to carry around a charger for this if you don't want to. The other thing, I forgot to bring it, and I apologize. Remember I said you always have a shortage of power plugs? Well, for, I think it's $45, ProMaster makes a nifty little accessory that plugs into a USB port, or an electrical socket that gives you 3 USB ports. And I can charge my laptop from totally dead, be running stuff on it, while charging 2 batteries with this, and charging my phone. All at once. Any questions so far, or have I bored everybody to death and we can leave?
That
Is
was
the
a
cam-
couple things here.
Yeah.
What camera? Is that a crop sensor?
This is a Sony a6400. Yeah, it is crop sensor.
Okay.
Yeah, I did use full frame for a while, and I'm like, no, I don't like working with the huge files, and no, I photograph more wildlife than I do landscapes, and so, yeah, crop sensor for me. One last thing that we want to talk about is the very important thing, memory. And have you ever gone out on a photo shoot and you get out there and you pull your camera out and you're like, oh crud, I left all my memory cards at home? How many of you have ever done that? Come on, be honest, raise your hands. I'm seeing somebody shaking her head a little bit back there.
I
So,
was at the Jubilee one year and there was a guy going around trying to do it, but he had an older camera and someone gave him a newest drive. Now this is like 8 years ago or whatever, and it didn't work in his older camera.
yeah. So, One of the things you may want to consider doing, this is no longer commercially available, which is a total bummer. Because this guy holds 4 SD cards, and it, basically is about the size, size of 2 credit cards. What you may want to consider doing for peace of mind is buy yourself, a 16 or 32 gig micro SD card, because they come with a neat thin little case, and just format it for your camera and just leave it in your purse or your wallet. That way you always have a backup memory card with you wherever you go.